Mr. President.
Senator from Tennessee.
Mr. President, I would like to congratulate the men and women of our military for a courageous mission and our intelligence community for accurate and important intelligence. I would like to congratulate the President for his persistence in bringing a mass murderer to justice. And I would especially like to salute the men and women of our military services who for the last 10 years have fought as indispensable consequences of the actions of terrorism. And all of us, as has been said by many senators today, expressly have in our hearts and minds the families of the victims of 9/11 and hope that somehow, in a small way, this event helps bring some conclusion to what has happened to their lives. Mr. President, I've just returned from visiting eastern Tennessee, where there were devastating tornadoes last week. The President, at the request of our entire congressional delegation, has declared 4 of our counties, Washington, Greene, Hamilton, Bradley, as disaster areas. And we thank him for his prompt attention to that. I visited today northern Hamilton County. That's just north of Chattanooga, just north of where the new Volkswagen plant will be. In Tennessee last week, 36 men and women lost their lives as a result of these storms. The area where I visited is one of the 2 areas most affected, the other being Washington and Greene counties, where our governor was today. Someone asked me following my visit if anything about it shocked me, and I said it always shocks me when I see the consequences of a devastating flood, or especially a massive tornado. This one had winds of nearly 200 miles an hour. And whenever you stand there and you try to put yourself in the shoes of someone who might have been there when the tornado came through, and try to imagine what it would be like if you saw this funnel coming and knew that it would only interfere with your life for about 20 or 30 seconds, but that after that all would be devastated. There's no way you could not be shocked by it, and there's no way that I could put myself in the shoes of those who were there. I saw one man who was there, Arthur Bates, 70 years old. I saw his house, which was completely demolished. His upright piano was upside down. He told me that he had killed a calf and left to take some meat to the preacher, and had been gone for about 5 minutes when the tornado hit his house. Not so lucky was another family not very far away. All of the members of that family were killed except for an 8-year-old boy who was found in a tree and who survived. Not far away, several families had signs that said, the Lord was with us. And surely it had to seem to them providential that there could be such devastation almost in their front yard, and their homes would be safe. Ironically today, as I went from Nashville to Chattanooga, I was reading about a commemoration of the floods that hit Tennessee almost exactly a year ago, on May the 2nd, 2010. These were floods that affected counties from Nashville to Memphis. In Nashville alone, there was $2 billion worth of damage. People are still recovering from that flood a year later. Businesses have closed in some cases, but most have opened. The Grand Ole Opry was shut, but it was open again. Opryland was open again. Nashville's thriving again. People are coming back to Nashville. But the commemoration today was for the large number of families in Tennessee who hurt, and some still are recovering. And then, if that weren't enough, in the western part of our state along the Mississippi River, we have reports that the water is rising and will rise to levels that will be higher than at any time since the flood of 1937. People are already preparing shelters. The tributaries into the Mississippi are already rising. On Friday, I'll be going to Memphis to meet with the Army Corps of Engineers and with local officials to make sure that we're doing all that we can do. None of us in the federal government believe that we can make anyone whole after a disaster like this, but we can help. As I said to those who I saw today in Chattanooga, north of Chattanooga, there is a telephone number to call, 211, which is a local number for help. There is a FEMA number to call, 1-800-681-FEMA. We found in the flooding a year ago from Nashville to Memphis that was a big help to many Tennesseans. I hope the same will be true in East Tennessee and across our state today. A year ago, Tennesseans distinguished themselves by not looting and complaining, but by cleaning up and helping one another. I saw that again today in Hamilton County. The sheriff told me that within a few hours after the devastation, there were 500 or so men with chainsaws out just clearing debris and trees from the roads and from the yards, helping one another. So, Mr. President, I speak today on behalf of all members of the Senate in expressing to those in Tennessee our concern and our willingness to continue to do all we can to help. I ask unanimous consent to place in the record, following these remarks, a summary of the actions that we're taking and the events that are happening in Tennessee, as well as two letters from the congressional delegation one letter from the congressional delegation to the president requesting a disaster relief, which he granted promptly, and another to the general who was president of the Mississippi River Commission, urging him to take every action possible to help the communities along the Mississippi River as water rises there.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to support the nomination of Kevin